So, you're probably wondering why I'm making this video. Well, hopefully it'll help somebody in the future. This is a GL450 2007 Mercedes. A very common problem is for the different SAM modules, like the rear SAM, front SAM, various modules to fail. And in some cases it's easy to fix. You just have a scanner and everything's wonderful. You replace the part, maybe have it programmed, and everything's great. But in this case, as you can see, I've got the car dismantled. I've got SAM modules sticking out everywhere, pulled out. One's down here. What was happening was, well, let me say this. I took it to our local mechanic who's really good. He's not a Mercedes guy, but he wasn't able to figure it out. We changed a few modules. I'd say $800 later. And these are used modules or off of eBay. It didn't solve the problem. Took it to a certified Mercedes mechanic shop who does very specific cars, European cars and stuff, and they couldn't figure it out. Of course, I don't honestly feel like they tried that hard. They were just like, oh, it looks like there's some corrosion here, change this module. So I didn't have any faith in that. Basically what was happening was, if you turn the blinkers on, or tried to turn the blinkers on, or the AC, or the bright lights on the headlights, none of that stuff would trigger. Now you're thinking, well, so I got this module out here, all the bunch of stuff out here. So you're thinking, well, the front SAM controls that. The front SAM is actually located here, down in there next to the battery. And we replaced it, and it didn't work. So, and they couldn't figure it out, so they gave up. Well, I decided, you know what, I'm going to rip this car apart and I'm going to figure out what's going on. Now, one of the reasons I made the video is because I don't seem to find a lot of videos on GL450s. It's very hard. Most of the Mercedes, while the modules may be in different spots and such, they are very similar design, meaning they have what's called a CAN or CAN system, and they have like high CAN, low CAN, different CANs. Basically, like there's a brown wire with a red stripe and a brown wire, and they're twisted. They're called twisted pair. Those are communication wires. I think that's for the high CAN, maybe the CAN B. And then you have green and white with a green stripe, a green wire and then a green white stripe wire, which is another CAN wire, which is like maybe CAN C or something like that. Don't quote me on exactly, but these are all communication wires. Like some are like priority, high priority wires, low. That system is out fully throughout the Mercedes, and that is how all these devices talk. So they're not like, they don't just send a voltage and then it triggers. It actually has to send it through some kind of module communication system, and then that triggers some relay. Well, I'm just going to show you and walk you through. I'm not 100% sure yet if this fix is going to work, but I will tell you that it's very, very highly likely it will work, and I'll make an update to this video as I make it. I just wanted to show you the nightmare I've gone through to get to this point. I started out by running the, I have a scanner. This scanner here, it's called AnyScan by X-Tool. It's an A30M. It's actually not too bad. Let me explain something to you. When you put the key on, and I have the AnyScan tool plugged in right here. If I was to put the left blinker on, or the right blinker, sorry about that, or like try to beep the horn, the scanner will pick up that the SCM or steering wheel control module is actually sending a signal. See, I even have this out. I had to pull that out. But so the signal is trying to get sent to a device, but the device is never receiving it. So it's not performing the action. Well, most Mercedes have what's called a CGW. It's a central gateway module. Now, the biggest trick to all this was even figuring out what was going on or where things are at, because it's very unclear. And I didn't want to take this seat out because I had done so much, I'd taken out so many things, and I was like, God, if I take this seat out and it's not there, I'm going to be so pissed. But as you can see, I took the driver's seat out. And what I did was, and I would do the same thing if I was you, I got a camera, and I have a little camera. We have an HVAC company, so I stuck my portable camera down in there with it has like a wand on it, and I was able to stick it down under here and move it around and look for the different modules, and I did actually find the module. So that was at least good, because then I was able to take it out and feel confident when I took the seat out I wasn't wasting my time. But let me lift this up here. This thing's stuck. Okay, so here's the module right here. This little sucker is what I believe is causing all the problems. This is they call it a central gateway. And as you can see, I was talking about those wires. You have these wires. One of them's like a brown with a red stripe, and then you have a green. And you'll notice them. They're all over the car. So one thing you can do is, if you call what's called back pinning, you can do it at different places in the car, but I'll show you what I did. Like here's some more modules. This is where your rear SAM is on a GL450. Actually tucks down in there. This is what it looks like right there. It's got a bunch of plugs on it. What I ended up doing, just because I was at this point here, as you can see, just so you know, to get the battery out of this car is a nightmare. The best thing you can do is take the 4 bolts off the seat, and you can tilt it up to get it out. Honestly, that ends up being the easiest way. What I did was I took this plug completely apart. As you can see, one of the wires that I was looking for is this brown wire here. And then you see where this pin is right here? That's where the brown with the red stripe wire goes in. So those 2 wires, as you can see, if you look back here, you can see they're twisted together right there. You also have the green wire right here that's twisted together. You see that? So those are called twisted pair. That's the communication wires. So you have a green set, you have a brown set. I think there's a gray set as well. The brown set is the one that runs the power, the air condition and the blinkers and stuff like that. So one thing you can do is, if you put a pin in each of those and you measure the resistance across them, you should read 60 ohms. If you don't, if you read 0, that means there's a short. If you read open line, that means the resistors that are supposed to be in line are not there. Something's failed. Now, that's a good question. Where are the resistors? Not all modules have resistors. There's only 2. Each of them are 120 ohms, and then that breaks down to 60 ohms when you have both of them in line. Well, if you look online, you can't find. Is it the rear SAM that has it? Is it the central gateway? To this day, I can't 100% say which 2 modules are for that circuit. But I do know, after seeing several people online talk about it, the central gateway was given the exact same problem. When the central gateway goes down, if it's still functioning but not correctly, you will see weird things. Like the car will start, it'll run, it drives, it does a lot of good things, but just certain features won't work. So I ordered a part online from a Chinese company. The part is called CarProg, C-A-R-P-R-O-G. I bought the gateway from Mercedes. It's supposed to come in next week. And I'm going to program it using CarProg. I'm going to clone the module. I'm going to pull the data off this module, and I'm going to push it to the other module. I'm going to plug it in, and we're going to see what happens. hopefully it'll work. I do have faith it'll work based on everything I've seen. I do see some corrosion on the pins on that module. Long story short, we had water damage in the car. We could not find the leak to save us. I mean, we looked and looked and looked, and finally the headliner kept getting destroyed. So we ripped the whole headliner out of the car, and they poured water all over the car because the water was coming down into here in this bay here, but we couldn't find where it was coming from, the source. Well, after a lot of trial and error, it was not like everybody said, oh, it's one of your like some kind of canal or whatever that they have in these cars, the drainage canals or whatever. And it ended up not being that. It was a seal in the frame, which we only found it because we took the headliner out. I don't know if you can see. As you can see, this is sort of a temporary fix that we turned into a permanent fix for now. You can see all this silicone here. Once they ran the silicone across here, and the only reason we did it is because you don't see up there on top of the car that much, so it's not that big a deal. But once they silicone that ridge, all the water leaks stopped. So somehow there was some kind of disconnect. It's hard to explain because you can't see it unless you're actually looking from the headliner side, which was all ripped out of the car. That's when they finally were able to discover it. But that caused all sorts of problems. So just in general though, if you want to know, they call this front SAM, and sometimes they call it the body control module, so it can get confusing when you go online to order it. But that module sits, as you can see, there's a plug, one of the plugs for it. It sits right next to the battery under the front passenger seat. It's a pain in the ass to get to. You have to pull the battery out. But, so there's a module there. And then you have the rear SAM we talked about. And then you have this front fuse panel. A lot of people call this the front SAM, but it's not. It's just a fuse panel. It does have a lot of wires coming in it. This is the relays for some of the stuff that's not working. So we replaced this, but it didn't do anything. So now we have an extra one. Here's your ECU. It's under your manifold. Got two big old wiring things. Now I'm going to have to tidy all these wires up because I had to pull all that off of there so I could test the wires. There's also, this is your ABS brake system controller here, and there is a plug here. This plug, sometimes this controller can cause problems. So I think they call this the ESP or something like that. That's right there. That unplugs. So in the process of doing all this, I unplugged a bunch of stuff, did a bunch of tests. Because if you don't have any resistance and you unplug that module out of the system and the resistance comes back, then that means that module is possibly causing the problem. The issue is that I tested every module, unplugged them, plugged them back in, tested resistance, and I could never get any module to give me resistance. And it's leading me to this central gateway. So I know this is a long drawn out thing. Hopefully when I come back, when I'm back online, when the parts come in and I post this video, I'll have the answer for you. Have a good one. So anyway, I took the seat out, got to the gateway, and I programmed it. And I bought I bought a brand new one. Mercedes wants to, they tell you have to bring the car all together with the gateway plugged in, which means your seat has to be in, or they won't even take the module. They will not program this module out of the car. So then they want to charge you $350 for the module, $200 to $400 to program it, and whatever labor it is to get the seat out. So they were talking over $1,000, right? What I ended up doing was buying a tool, a Chinese tool called CarProg, and it allows you to program the module directly. Okay, now the board's not in here because I have it out there in the other room, and I'm going to take a walk in there and I'm going to show you, and I'm going to cut this video at some point, and I'm going to cut the video and I'm going to re-edit it. I'm going to show you exactly how I programmed this one. This was very tricky, took me a long time to figure out the wiring because the wires don't exactly line up like they say when you buy the CarProg, and the instructions aren't that great. So hang tight and see if we can get you fixed up. All right, well, I'm going to try to make this video. I'm not a CarProg expert by any means, and I just sprained my hand this morning, so I am totally jacked up. I would normally not make a video like this with a tripod, but since I have to show you an actual board and the computer at the same time, this is really the only way to do it. So I'm sort of winging it. The reason I'm making this video is because I'm trying to program my central gateway, which is this. This is the broken one. It's out of a Mercedes 2007 GL450. There are only 2 videos online. Both of those videos are companies that actually provide service, which is nice. However, unfortunately, they give you just enough information to sort of confuse you and leave you hanging. And I will be honest with you, I almost gave up after like 10 or 20 hours of just fiddling and working with it. I finally figured it out, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this. Let me just go through real quick what you're going to need, because if you're not handy with a couple things, it might throw you for a loop. You're going to need the CarProg, okay? And I don't know if this is a knockoff CarProg or what, but I got it from Car Tool Deal. I think I went to Amazon. I think it's Amazon or eBay or whatever. And I don't remember, actually. My wife ordered it for me. But this is where you go. Go to cartooldeal.com and you can order it there. Pretty good. It came in pretty quick. One of the things about it is CarProg obviously is a way to kind of override, I guess, manufacturer boards and stuff. I don't know if it's illegal, whatever. I guess depending on how you use it, it could be, but like, because it allows you to change like VIN numbers and stuff like that. So I don't know a lot about it. I just wanted to know just enough to be dangerous to get this done. So you're going to need CarProg. It's going to come in a box. Let me see if I can turn this thing. Man, when my wrist busted like this, it makes it really tough. It's going to come in a box like this. It's going to have a CD. Now, I had trouble running this CD because my laptop doesn't have a CD player. So what I did was I transferred the CD to a USB drive, and then I ran it, and I'll show you what I did. And then it's going to come with a ton of cables like this, all kinds of sorts of cables, and it will come with the actual CarProg device right there. And then the most important part for us is you're going to use the A10 cable to do your work. I'm going to tell you right off the bat that you're going to have an issue with it, and I'll explain that to you in a minute. You need a soldering iron. You don't need one like this, just any simple one will work, and then you're going to need a multimeter. Now, you can get away with not having a multimeter, maybe, if everything works the first time. If not, you're definitely going to need one. I'm going to try. Hopefully this will work with this computer like this. So let me explain to you real quick what's going to happen. You're going to do everything it says to do, or you think it says to do, and you're going to push read, and it's not going to work. And then you're going to scratch your head and look for documents, and you're going to be able to find nothing. Between ChatGPT, if you haven't used ChatGPT, you're crazy. It's an AI program. Everybody from your grandma to a 2-year-old should be using Chat because it has so much power to help you overcome so many things. But that's on another side note. Between Chat, YouTube, and just looking at some documents, I was able to figure out what happened. So I have this little document here. I called it CarProg programming notes. I'll just go through. I'm kind of winging it, so I may miss a few things. I'm going to try not to. My goal is not necessarily to walk you through every single step, but just show you what you need to know so that way you'll be successful if you decide to program yours. The first thing is I watched or read this forum, because what my Mercedes was doing, I think is in part of this video. If it's not, depending on which video I put out, I didn't have blinkers, windshield wipers, AC was not coming on. The fan would come on, but it wouldn't engage the compressor. No headlights, stuff like that. So basically my central gateway failed. How I figured that out is a long story, but that's what was happening. So everybody kept saying, oh, your front SAM's bad or your rear SAM. Well, the SAMs weren't even communicating because the central gateway was down. If you plug in a brand new module, which I bought, this module here is purchased. I have it apart right now. It works. If you purchase it from Mercedes directly, it's about $300 or $400, and it will fix those problems immediately. As soon as you plug it in, even unprogrammed, the blinker started working. However, if it doesn't have your VIN number and stuff like that, there are some side effects that they say will happen, like maybe your shocks don't work because it's not programmed, or maybe your, one of the other features in your car may not work. So I didn't test everything yet, or I didn't test everything without it to know what would work or not. But I know it definitely fixed some of the common things that I saw happening, so I knew I was on the right track. Now, so you're gonna get CarProg. I transfer to a USB. I watched this forum here, which explains some of the same issues, and it also had a link to a guy showing you how to use CarProg. And as you can see, he has a cloning service in San Diego. That's one guy. And then there was another guy somewhere in here. I think this is right here, Carmen Auto, maybe. Might be the same guy. I can't remember. But their videos aren't bad, but they don't exactly explain some details I'm going to show you. Now, the other thing, before we load CarProg, let's just go real quick. I'm going to bust your bubble and I'm going to show you what you're going to run into. When you pull up CarProg, it will give you a diagram. And let me put this over here so you can see. It will give you a diagram of this little board. Okay, now ignore these writings on here. I did that because I was testing some other stuff. And it's going to tell you, like, this pin right here where I have solder, there's going to be a wire there, and it might be like a blue wire, I think, or a gray wire. Actually, let me hold it like this, because that's the way it's going to show you on the picture. I think that's going to be a blue wire, and then you're going to put a wire right there, which is going to be a wire. And it'll show you, so I'm not going to go into too much detail at the moment. And then there's a gray wire that goes there, and then a red. Now, the weird part is if you flip this board over, what you're doing is we're programming this chip. This chip, I don't know if you can see it, is a MCS or MC9S, what is that, 12D T256. Okay, that is very important because that is going to save your life. But I ohmed out. I literally found the pins on here, and I'll show you how I did it. But I found all the pins that mapped to the pads on the back. Now, the weird part is that the gray pin that is right here, where you put the gray wire, it doesn't match the pin on the board here. So I don't know why. Maybe, I'm not sure, but it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, if you follow their chart where they tell you, it will work. But there is a gotcha. And the gotcha is knowing this part number. That's important. We'll talk about that. And also, I'm going to show you on this other board, where I have the pins right now. As you can see, I have them soldered on there, the red, the blue, the yellow, and the gray on the bottom right there. That yellow wire, according to their document, should be the brown wire, which means in the CarProg device itself, it's expecting the brown wire to come in, except the brown wire is wrong. And on one of the YouTube videos, a guy says, no, in my video, I have to use the green wire. Well, guess what? On my adapter, it's the yellow wire. So how do you figure that out? Well, I'm going to show you real quick how this works. You're not going to be able to see it, but inside of there, if you look real close, there's going to be numbers. It'll be like, in this one, I can't tell because it's too dark in here. I'm not sure which ones are which, but you'll be able to see. I think one starts like right here, maybe, or it's either up there. I think it's ones right here, but it's going to be like 1 through 13, and then 14 to 28, basically. So Be like 1, 2, 3, you just count across, right? Well, what I had to do was, and I'm going to show you right here. Let me pull up, and I'll show you how I got here. It's really hard to work with a sprained hand. I fell this morning on my wrist, pulled all the tendons. It's pretty painful. So I'm going to scroll down here. I'm going to show you. So just so you know, this is my gateway right here, MC9S12D256. That's the one, my original one, okay? That's important to know. And this is, I actually used Chat GPT, and I said, hey, can you give me the pin lineup for the CarProg pins? Like, that's the cool thing about Chat, is it knew exactly what I was talking about. I want to program my central gateway, I told it, and it said, okay. And it said, oh, by the way, the BKG is the pin 23, and the reset pin is 42, right? So, and it was correct. These are correct. So, so you'll know, like, the VDD is, it can either be pin 13, 65, right? So that's good to know. But as you can see, here's the document, right? This little picture will pop up when you open CarProg, and it'll tell you that the red pin's here, the gray pin's there, okay? But if this was supposed to be brown, right? This is supposed to be brown, and it's not, then how do I know it's yellow, right? Well, let me show you. So I'm going to scroll down here. So there's a document you can download. Let me get to that real quick. The way you're going to get to this document is you're going to go right here to codecard.eu index.php, right? This link is, you can get this document. I'll just show you right now. I mean, might as well. Even though I made this document, and this document has everything I need, because I just started cutting and pasting as I needed it. So if you're, let's say I'm going to click on the home page here. So I'm on the home page. Now, I don't know who owns this website. I don't know, because if I happen to have a knockoff CarProg, I don't know if this is the knockoff link, or who knows, who cares. But I do know that if I go right here to downloads and manuals right here on the left, if I click on that, I'm going to look for CarProg Motorola HC12. Okay, now you ask, how do I know that? Your question is as good as mine, because I don't know how I got to that point, going in circles, going to Chat, finally figured out that maybe it's somewhere in the documentation. I don't know, but that's part of the problem, is there's no good documentation that really walks you step by step. So if you were to click on this link there, you see this, it shows you, which is funny because the Motorola module is like MC9, right? Well, that doesn't really tell you all that here, except for this 9S12 right here, right? So that's your only indication. As you can see, they're using an A10 cable, right? That's what they tell you. And here's one of, now this one is not exactly the one we have, because you can see it's MC68. You might not be able to tell from here, but they're just showing you an example. So as I scroll down, we'll ignore all this for now, but these are things that are important, like the blue, brown, gray, stuff like that. We're going to go right here. This is the important part. As you can see, the brown wire is supposed to be the ground wire, which is going to pin 25. See that? Pin 25 right here goes to here, and it goes to brown or black, it says, right? Well, if I put my ohm meter on this 25 pin and I touch the brown wire on the adapter, it didn't beep. If I touch the black wire, it didn't beep. If I like the red wire right here, if I touched pin red wire to pin, I think 9 or 10, whatever that is, it beeped. So I was like, oh, red's correct. And I did gray, it beeped, everything was good. So all the wires were supposed to beep, beeped, except for the brown didn't. But when I finally touched the yellow wire, it beeped. So that meant that pin 25 coming out of the adapter was actually connected to the yellow wire. So that's how I figured it out. I looked at the four wires you need, based on what they tell you needs to hook up, like I have soldered right now. And I matched them to the pin line up here. And I found which CarProg A10 adapter pins would line up with the correct colors. Everything was fine except for that. So there's your first thing. It's gonna blow your mind when you hook this thing up and it doesn't work, and you go in circles and you want to throw it out the window. Now here's the second thing. This is the big thing. Second big thing. And I'm going to go ahead while I'm talking. I'm going to go ahead and show you so that it can start pulling it up. Because it's another thing, when you first click on it, it's not going to pull it up immediately. It takes a little while. So you'll think it's not working, but it is. So I just created a folder called CarProg. You put it wherever you want. I just put it in one of my directories. And I remember I loaded the USB drive, right? So there it is. So I click on it, and I'm going to go to CarProg DVD. Click on that. Now, you see all these, you'll have like CarProg V1093 and 12.13. Well, if you look at the CarProg I have, it is CarProg, where does it say it? Oh, it's not there. It must be, oh, it's back here. It says 13 point, so that's the one I have, 13.77. So I found the exe file right there. That's 13.77. I double clicked it. So we're going to do that. It's going to load it. So I'm going to wait for it to load. But while I'm waiting, I'll talk to you. Okay. Remember I said, here's your Motorola pins, right? Well, this one on this board has, I believe, 112 pins. Okay. Well, if you look at the pins here, and you look at the last pin, I believe this board only has 80 or 81, something like that. I think it's 80. So that obviously is not the right board, right? And then if you scroll down, and here's another board, it also has 80, and you can see it's a total different number, 60H, HC, whatever, right? So we know that's wrong. Now, you're not going to have to line up every pin, but this will kind of help you to understand what's going on. This board, look, it has 112 pins. Here's 112. So it starts at 1 and it goes all the way around and it lands here at 112. But I know, oh, there's CarProg. So here's CarProg, and we'll talk about this in a second. Based on this document, the one we're looking at now, right? And based on asking ChatGPT what the layout was, it told me that pin 42 was the reset pin, and pin, right, like PKG was pin 23, and the VDD was pin 13 or 65 or 107, right? So it's saying that you can use any of these pins to get what you want. So I said, okay, well, let's just pick an easy one. The reset pin is pin 42. Well, if I go to this document, now I'm not going to go through all these, but as you can see, you can't see because it's too small, but this is pin 42 right here. And if I look real close at it, it's not the reset pin, which means this is not the correct board, right? So we keep scrolling along, and this is not the right board either, right? Now we're getting close. MC9S12DG 1218. Is that the one is that close to the one I wanted? Oh, it's not, because that's 12DT. And look, there's only 80 pins, so that's wrong too. Okay, here's the one. I think this is it right here. So this has 112. I see my number in here, right here. You'll see it if it's bigger. And if I look at pin 42, it says reset right there, where this blue is. So I know now that this is the correct board. So in theory, you could touch this pin directly on the board, which is really tiny. Okay, and then you could flip your board backwards, and you could find that reset pin. You could literally, I don't know which one it is. I think it was either this one or this one. Well, it doesn't matter. But the point is that you could ohm out this and touch the pin 42 in the middle there, and it'll beep. That tells you, yep, that pad is connected to that pin. So that's why we're soldering a wire there, right? That's why we're soldering a wire to the correct pad, right? Now, here's where you're going to get thrown for a loop. Let me show you real quick. So anyway, this document, I have it laid out, and I already talked to you that where's where you get your layout for it. And for me, it was the yellow wire. For you, it might be the green, the purple, the red. Who knows what it's going to be, right? I checked each wire, though, and see I documented it here. And I found that the brown needed the yellow to be on the right ones. For me, the gray was right. The blue was right. The red was right. Okay. Now, where's the... Okay. So, here's the board we're using. You might be able to see it better here. I cut and pasted it. That's the reset pin. Now, let me show you CarProg real quick. If we pull up CarProg, now what I would suggest you do is go ahead and plug in your CarProg. You don't need the adapter. See, it's not connected right now. It doesn't need to be connected, but it does need to have the USB cable into the computer, because when you start CarProg, it's going to try to load the files, and if you don't have it, then the files won't load correctly, and then you'll get some weird errors. So go ahead and plug it in, and then start your CarProg. And click agree, which basically says, I will not use this for any unlawful use of software, right? So I'm going to say agree. And then what you're going to do for our central gateway, we're going to click on the top left here. We're going to go to dashboard, open that up. We're going to scroll down to Mercedes. Now, this is the thing. They don't tell you. How do you know what to click, right? It's crazy. But I can tell you, you're going to go to the, and you see how it says NA. Let's see what happens. It says MB service. So let's click that. And you see, nothing's happening, right? Because something didn't load right when it just connected. So let's try. I'm gonna unplug the adapter here, and then I'm gonna plug it back in. See, when it says NA next to it, I know it's not gonna work. So let's just see if we get lucky. If not, I'll have to close. Oh, see, it did something there, so that was kind of good. Now I'm gonna double click the MB service right there. Ah, see, now it's loading. You see that? So it worked that time. Now, usually once it's correct, the NAs will go away, but I guess if they're there, it doesn't matter. Okay, here's the funny part. If you look closely, my module has a part number of 16450-540, right? So you're thinking, well, let's go look for that, right? So that's what I did. I found it. Look, 164-540, but oh, the numbers don't match exactly. So what do? I'm thinking, well, none of them match. I can never find one that matched. I said, well, let me use the closest one, and get lucky. So this all lines up like I expected. But if you look right here, this number here looks very close, but it has a B on the end of it. And you would think, well, does that matter? Well, I don't know. Let's try this one. That one also has a B. Let's try this one. That has a B. So those are all the same. Now, I want to let you know, not knowing what was wrong, this was a nightmare, because I didn't know, was my yellow wire in the wrong place? Am I using the wrong thing here, right? So if you don't know, you're just going in circles, and that's what I did. So I'm saving you all the trouble right now. I'm telling you right now, this number right here is garbage. This number means nothing to you. What you need is this number on the board. Okay? The reason you need this number, or this product number, is because when you look at this, you're going to go up here, and in theory, you're going to click on every one of them, and you're going to go down until you find the one that matches. Now, in this case, what's this? 9S12DG. Well, we don't have a G. It's not a DG. Ours is a DT, right? So that's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong. Oh, there's one that looks different. That's a DT, but it's once again, 256B. Wrong, right? How did I know this? Oh, I didn't. I just guessed until I finally figured it out. Yeah, really annoying. So we skipped the ones that didn't work, right? Well, there we go. Look at that. Was that right? 91. Oh, that's not right either. We're looking for 9S. Oh, that's wrong too. Look at that. Keep going. Keep going. Boom. There we go. Look, the picture's the same, but look, 9S12DT256, exact match. So this is the one you need to click on, okay? Now, once you solder your wires there, I'm not going to show you how to do that. You can watch somebody else's video. They show you. I'm going to plug this guy in, okay? This part is about as simple as it gets. I'm not going to show you every single step here because I've already done it. I don't want to mess my board up or have any issues, but I'll tell you this. Solder it to your old board because you want to pull the data off. You need to pull the data off your broken board. Even though your board's broken, the chip is usually still good. You need this because you need your VIN number and you need your service information and all that. And there's some special keys supposedly that if you don't get, it won't work. So I can't tell you for sure what's going to happen, but solder the pins just like they show you on your old board, okay? Then once you're soldered, you're going to hit next here. And I'm going to go ahead and hit read. Obviously, I'm not reading from my old board, but that doesn't matter. I'm going to read from the new board. You're going to hit the read button here, right there. Okay? You hear it click. And look, it's reading. Before, it would just tell me attempt 1, attempt 2, and it would fail. So now it's reading. So we know it's working. We can get real excited. All right, there we go. So it read it. It read the board and it told me, there you go. There's your VIN number for your car. You see that where it says VIN right there? And it says, here's your odometer reading, which is really weird. I think my board's corrupted because this is in the trillions. I obviously don't have 1 trillion kilometers on my car. And just so you know, this is in kilometers. So when you fix yours, if you do, whatever you think you might, like my car has, I think like 200,000 miles on it. I'm going to have to convert that to kilometers, which is like 300,000 or whatever. But so you clicked read and you're looking at it, right? Okay. Now, here's what you have to do. Go to the EEPROM right here. So it says service modify. That's the page we're on now. Click the EEPROM. Okay. And let's see. Go ahead and read again. Now, the funny part is when you're here, we clicked read here, right? And I don't know. I think you can click read here too. I'm not sure. But when you're in the EEPROM window, click this button right here. Okay. All right. Now, I don't know if it's necessary to be in that window or not. I think it is because if you notice, there was nothing here before, right? And this is the data that we're trying to save. This is all the binary data. And if you scroll through, you'll see they break it. They convert it to readable text in some places. There you go. Like you see that. It's not really readable, but it sort of is readable, right? So anyway, we don't care about all that. What I want you to do now is what you're going to do is you're going to click the save button right here with a little disk. And oh, it popped it up in the other window. Hold on. Let me pull it over here for you. Okay. It's going to pop up this. And I named mine, like you'll see right here. I called it, when it was my original, I called it Original Mercedes Central Gateway. That's my broken one. Okay. And then I stored that file and you just hit save, right? I'm not going to do it right now because I already did it. And then you're going to take the pins off. You're going to resolder them to your new board. And you're going to come here just like you did before. And you're going to click on Service NA, and it's going to it's like you're starting CarProg over from scratch. And you're going to do read again. And it's going to pull up the new Mercedes one. It's going to all be blank here. And it's going to have a bunch of like question marks and stuff. It's basically saying, hey, you have an unprogrammed board here. That board will sort of work when you plug it in your car because I already tried it. But it won't have a VIN. The VIN will be blank. I think it'll have a bunch of like question marks or something. Anyway, click read, right? Just to make sure you can read from it like we did before. Go to the EEPROM, click read again. And then, I might lose my battery here. Let me plug it in. Really hard to do with a broken hand here, but let me try. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Go ahead and go to your EEPROM here, click read again, and then store this one, hit save, and now call it New Factory Mercedes, which is like the default, I guess, right? Just in case you screw something up, you could restore at least that back, right? Now, then what you're going to do is, assuming you need to modify something, if you want to just copy your old board to the new one and don't make any changes at all, then you could simply go to the EEPROM here. You've already read the new board, right? Remember that? Sorry, I misspoke and I don't want to mess you up. I paused you for a second. But so this is where we save, right? We did that. And this is where we read. when you want to open your new file, the old one, right, you'll click here, this folder. Now we're going to pick, even though we're connected to the new module, we're going to pick the original Mercedes. We're going to double click on it, right? That is going to open up that file, the data for that file, right? And then we're going to write it by clicking this little yellow thing right here. And if I click it, I'm not going to do it, but it says start write. I'm going to say cancel. But you're basically saying, I want to start writing the data I just pulled from that folder, and it's going to write it straight to your EEPROM, and you're done. That's it. Plug it in your car and you're good to go. Now, just a little thing, you can watch the other videos. There's one guy that does like a clone. If you were to buy a used module, it'll have its own VIN number and it'll have all these service dates, which will all be wrong in the mileage. If you decide to fix that, you can write the VIN here, just write it in. And then here, you can just, if you hit this down arrow right here, it'll start removing any of the service dates that were for this car. And then once you get whatever you want, you're going to hit the transfer and it'll move it to this side. And I don't understand why it's doing all this exactly, but, and then he clicked the clear right here, oil replenishments. Basically, you have to make the data look correct, because if you don't, it'll have weird numbers like negatives, because it thinks, wait a minute, this car had more mileage than your car, and now we have negative dates to, you know, it doesn't work basically. But anyway, you get all this cleaned up, you can watch this video, you hit the transfer. Once it's all cleaned up, then you would do the write. You would hit this write, and you're good to go. Plug the module back in and hope it works. So the key is to get the wiring laid out for your A10 adapter, which I can't tell you it's the yellow wire because it is on mine and it's not on other people's. And make sure you select the right MC in the list there. That's the two biggest things. Now, I will tell you, I'll be honest with you. If I go through each pin, I can find all the pins. They all ohm out to the front here, except for one. Maybe I'll do it later, but it didn't. This gray, right, this pin right here is supposed to be a gray wire, and I found it to be right there. But when I hooked my meter there, I mean my wires there like this, but I put the gray there, it did not work. I can't explain why. I put it back here with the yellow, with the right MC number, and everything worked. So all I can tell you is follow the air diagram. It must work here. I don't know why. The red's there, the gray's there, the blue is there. Don't use these two. Just use whatever it told you. I think they told you to put the brown there. In your case, you'll use yellow, green, brown, whatever. And hope it works for you. Now, to get this, you do not. You're going to ask me, how do you know this number when it's in the box? Because it's upside down in the box, you can't see it. On this one, I pulled it out because I didn't care if I accidentally broke it, because I'm not going to use it no more. But if you have a good module, you really don't need to. If you get a good light and you tilt it just right, you can actually read the numbers in there, just good enough to tell what board it is. I will tell you, this module is newer, the one from the Mercedes. And it matches every number, except it does at the end have a CPVE on the end. So I don't have CPV, right, in CarProg. So I just used the same module here that I told you, and it worked. So the CPV may be some kind of version thing, whatever, that's not important. But all right, well, I don't want to linger on forever, but hopefully this helps somebody out. And good luck. Thanks.